So what about obviously moving on to tell me about when you was 18. Obviously, I know a little bit about your story. Obviously, school you found very hard.
Yeah, so secondary school was a bit of a mad one for me. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, I left school at 13. No GCSEs, no I wasn't a troublemaker at school, but I didn't really pay too much attention to my lessons. You know what I'm saying. I always wanted to box. I wasn't really interested in school. I sort of decided this is what I'm going to do with my life. I'm not interested in a bit of paper that tells me I can read and write. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's bad, really. But
Why do you think it's bad?
because I think you need a proper education nowadays. I mean, if everything went tits up for me, and I need to go and get a job, I've got no qualifications to say that I can do this, or do you know what I mean? Never stuck it out. I left school at 13. You know what I mean? Went to work and just focusing on my training.
Yeah, I think the other way to look at it as well is I didn't get any GCSEs. Again, people can take what they want from this opinion, but I left school, no GCSEs, expelled from school, started my own business. Well, technically, I went to McDonald's, got a job, lasted 2 minutes, got a sack. Employment doesn't necessarily suit certain people, myself included in that bracket.
Yeah,
but when I started my job, my business, I could sort of see where I wanted to be, work for myself, and then employ other people. So if you know where you're going, then it doesn't matter how many times you fail or learn, as I like to say. You can just keep going and then reach where you want to get to. So for anyone listening that didn't get that GCSE or whatever it is, diploma or university degree, whatever they're looking to get as society says you should get, I wouldn't say it's the be all and end all, because there's plenty of people that I know that have sat in a podcast, which is exactly where you're sitting now, that can pretty fucked up at school as well.
Yeah.
So I don't put too much pressure on yourself with that.
Yeah, I would never want to work for somebody else. Do you know what I mean? And that's when I left school, I just decided I want to do my boxing. It was a childhood dream for me anyway.
Where did that dream come from?
My old man, he was a professional boxing trainer.
Okay.
And I remember being 4-year-old, sitting on the side of the ring watching him train the pros. He had a gym at Canary Wharf in London.
Okay.
Yeah, he worked under Matchroom. He worked for Frank Maloney's Fight Factory, running the gym there. So he'd been involved in it for a long time. Do you know what I mean? He trained a lot of professionals and stuff. And I just remember being young and watching him. I used to watch all the Rocky films.
Yeah.
I used to sit there doing my press ups, in my boxer shorts when I was about 5, 6. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's always appealed to me, boxing. I mean, I've always had a love for it anyway. But I never really started training properly till I was about 11. I'd come and go from the gym. You know what I mean? My old man used to bring me to watch. I'd hit the bag, mess around. It weren't proper training. Do you know what I mean? But I just...
Was it hard because obviously your parents had split?
Yeah.
Tell me about your relationship with your parents at that time.
Yeah, so obviously my mum left. I was only young. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I didn't really see my dad. My dad was absent a lot from my childhood, from my young childhood. I didn't really see him much. It was fucking heartbreaking, man, to be honest. You know what I mean? I'm a daddy's boy, I always have been. I'm saying even from a little boy, so yeah, that was hard. Growing up, he was in and out of our lives a lot. And then I moved to I went to secondary school. My relationship with my dad, it sort of was a lot stronger. You know what I mean? I'd see him a lot more. Obviously, I used to go training with him 3-4 times a week. So after school, I'd go to the gym. He'd pick me up from school. We'd go to the gym. He'd drop me home 3-4 hours later. I mean, we had a good session.
Yeah.
My relationship with my dad got a lot stronger. You know what I mean, he come back to live with us again. Things was going good. Mum and dad was back together. Everything was sweet. And then they split again, and he left, but I left with him. You know what I mean? I left with my dad, and I was about 13 then. When I lived with my dad, yeah. That was hard. I left my brothers and sisters behind. They all thought I abandoned them. you know, but I was sick of like growing up and not having my dad in my life. So
What happened next?
Yeah, man. I went and moved in with my nan. We was living with my nans in Sidcup. Still trying to go to school, obviously from there. But my main priority was my boxing because that's what I knew I wanted to do with my life. So I was going to school like in the morning times for a couple of hours, bunking out my lesson, jumping the fence, jumping into my dad's car, driving to Essex. We used to go and train with Jason Rowland. He was an ex-world champion. He boxed Ricky Allen. So he had a gym in Essex, right by it's like a fencing yard in Essex. I can't remember exactly what it's called now. I think it might be Orchard, I'm not sure. But he had the gym there anyway. And so yeah, I used to bunk school, like jump in the car, go to boxing. I mean, train there with the pros. I was sparring champions, professional champions when I was like 13-year-old, like George Hilliard. I was in there with Nicky Cook, a few good fighters. Tony Conquest, he used to train there. So like, yeah, it was a good atmosphere in the gym. But you know, I was only a kid, but I think they respected me for sort of jumping in and holding me young sometimes. I mean, it was a sparring and that as well. So, but I learned a lot with them boys over there.
So yeah, I mean, there's quite a lot to dissect for people that are listening. At the age of 13, you've gone through quite a lot, and no doubt there's more to touch on. But jumping in the ring at 13 years of age, what was the biggest lesson at that age that you learned?
Like, I mean, so like I boxed as an amateur anyway. I had my first fight when I was like, how old was I? About 12. At Plastic Red in Sidcup. So yeah, I had my first fight there. Stopped the kid in a couple of rounds. I mean, he was buzzing. Had another one, boxed again at Bexley Heath Marriott Hotel. Give the kid a couple of 8 counts. Went the distance, but I won. And then I was like out of season. So I was going over and training with the pros in Essex, but the amateur season sort of finished, you know what I mean? And there was a few unlicensed shows that was sort of coming up, and I thought, well, like, rather than sit about and wait, like, I'd jump on them, you know what I mean? So I went under like a different name. Yeah, I went on them under a different name, jumped on them. I boxed. So the first time I boxed, I think I was either 12 or 13. I boxed a 19-year-old and I knocked him out.